You know, this fourth indictment of Donald Trump really hit me differently than the other ones. The other ones made me mad, sure. They were unfair, sure. They even rose to the level of being completely unjust, sure. Banana Republic. But this one hit home in a different way because this one is not about Trump the way that the other indictments are about Trump. So Trump has been indicted 4 different times now. This particular indictment from Fulton County, Georgia, from the prosecutor Fannie Willis, there's 41 total counts. Not just Trump, there's 19 total defendants. Trump is charged with 13 counts. This one hit differently because the other ones, the one in Manhattan, the one about the classified documents, the other one about the classified documents seem very personal towards Trump. It seems like individuals who have a visceral hatred of Donald Trump are trying to see Donald Trump personally be put in jail. They are politically trying to prevent Donald Trump, the politician, from being president of the United States again. And it's unfair. It's unjust. It's completely wrong. It's a weaponization of the federal government. But this fourth indictment is different because this indictment impacts you and I. This indictment is not just about trying to harm President Trump financially, try to harm his reputation, and try to harm his political longevity. This indictment has direct implications on what we are going to be allowed to say, on how we are going to be allowed or disallowed from criticizing the radical left. And I want to back up here before we even get into this indictment. Remember that the grand jury in Fulton County, Georgia, who has supposedly been investigating these charges against Trump, were led by a grand jury foreperson who made this comment on the news several months ago. This is the grand jury foreperson. Take a listen.
Personally want to hear from the former president.
I wanted to hear from the former president, but honestly, I kind of wanted to subpoena the former president because I got to swear everybody in. And so I thought it'd be really cool to get 60 seconds with President Trump of me looking at him and being like, do you solemnly swear? And me getting to swear him in. I kind of just thought that would be an awesome moment.
Oh, you just thought that would be an awesome moment to weaponize the government so that you can wield power over President Trump. Like, what the F? What is going on here? This is the grand jury foreperson. And then we have the Fulton County sheriff who confirmed to the public that when President Trump surrenders for his arraignment, they will be taking a mugshot this time. Take a listen to this.
We are following our normal practices. And so it doesn't matter your status. We have mugshots ready.
We'll have mugshots ready for you. We'll have mugshots ready for you. And when you see President Trump's mugshot, he's supposed to surrender by August 25th, so it's going to be within the next 2 weeks. It's not just going to be Donald Trump. Here's the progression. This is the real reason behind this indictment of Donald Trump. It's different than the other 3. This indictment of Donald Trump included supposed alleged co-conspirators because the left is finally ramping up the plan that they have been laying the groundwork for the past 7 years. The progression is first they came for Donald Trump, which they've done. In Manhattan, the district attorney, the National Archives, and the special counsel Jack Smith, they came for Trump. Then, after they come for Trump, they're going to come for those associated with Trump. So that's the other, 19 defendants, including Trump. So 18 others besides Trump. Then, the step after that is they're going to come for people associated with Trump. So it's not just going to be these alleged co-conspirators. It's going to be people in the news, commentators, other politicians who texted Trump encouraging him in his narrative that the election was stolen from him. And then they're going to come for conservatives in general, conservatives who are speaking opinions that they don't like. Because the goal all along has been, the ultimate goal of all of these indictments, which is coming to fruition in this fourth indictment of Donald Trump, has been the criminalization of free speech. We have seen this trajectory. You and I have been tracking this trajectory on this show for years now. How the Department of Justice, the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security have redefined the word speech. They've redefined words. They've told us that speech isn't just, words, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. No. They now say that words will hurt you. Words are actual violence. If you speak words that are considered hate speech, as defined by the left, then it can cause other people actual physical harm. And the reason, this seems ridiculous, it seems absurd, the reason they're doing this is because if they can define our speech as actual violence, then they feel perfectly justified trying to shut it down. They feel perfectly justified punishing us for it. They feel perfectly justified putting us in prison for a violent offense, not a real violent offense, but an offense that they have deemed to be violent based on the fact that they don't like the words that we are speaking. That is what we are watching unfold before our very eyes. We're going to look through this indictment because when you pull out the individual charges, it becomes perfectly apparent exactly what the left is doing. They're not just going for Donald Trump. They're coming for all of us. We're going to walk through that in just a second, but first I want to talk to you about Black Forest. If you're watching my show right now, then you know all about the attack on masculinity that our men have been facing for the last decade in our nation. Our culture has essentially been promoting the feminization of men. It's all part of their plan. Weak men and weak people are easier to control, so do as we say, not as we do, and don't ask any questions. If you speak out, well, then you're a homophobe, you're a sexist, you're a misogynist. And the sad part is it's kind of working. Did you know testosterone levels have been declining for decades? So too has grip strength and other measurable counts, the baby-making kind of counts. The research and data is all there. It's published online with the National Library of Medicine. The reason for it is because we're bombarded with chemicals and unhealthy foods and a backwards mainstream culture. But our new sponsor, Black Forest, is on a mission to help change this. Of course, healthy activities like lifting weights and getting high-quality sleep will help tremendously, but Black Forest has another solution on top of this, Black Forest Terkesterone. Black Forest Terkesterone is a natural anabolic compound that supports muscle growth, improves endurance, and increases strength and lean muscle mass, and aids in fat loss. It's basically like steroids without the nasty side effects. So gentlemen, embrace your strength. Let Black Forest help you get there. Go to blackforestsupplements.com. That's blackforestsupplements.com. Use my promo code Liz10 at checkout, and you can get a 10% discount. That's blackforestsupplements.com, promo code Liz10. It hits differently. This indictment hits differently. And the visceral reaction that I had when they handed down this indictment and I started reading it was very different than the other ones. The other ones were wrong, and I had passionate responses to them because it's unfair for the federal government or the Democrats in charge of the federal government to target their political opponent, which is Donald Trump. But it wasn't quite associated with us yet. It certainly could happen to us if we were in the position Trump was in, but it wasn't. The plan of the left had not fully come to fruition. It hadn't become evident that our speech was going to be on the chopping block next. So, by the way, the state of Georgia, this is a point that is very important to be made. The governor of Georgia has no power to pardon someone who's been convicted in the state of Georgia. This is different than a lot of states. Most governors have the power to pardon convicted felons, but the governor of Georgia does not. The president of the United States also cannot pardon people who've been convicted of state crimes. The president can only pardon people who've been convicted of federal crimes. So if President Trump is convicted in Georgia, then it doesn't matter if there's a Republican governor, that it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter if there's a Republican president. Neither of them have the power to pardon. In fact, you can only submit for a pardon in the state of Georgia after you've been incarcerated for 5 years, and then you submit that to the parole board. It's no coincidence that this is all happening in Georgia. In the state of Georgia, state trials can be televised. So you can see why the left has put all their time and effort, their focus into Georgia, because Georgia is the exact state where they believe they can be shielded from any sort of accountability for their wrongdoing in targeting President Trump. But these are the charges that have been levied against President Trump and his associates. If we could bring up element number 3 here. Apparently, it is now illegal in the United States of America to advocate for signature verification on absentee ballots. This is what the indictment reads. On or about the 27th day of December 2020, Mark Meadows sent a text message to the office of the Georgia Secretary of State investigator, Francis Watson, that stated in part, quote, "Is there a way to speed up Fulton County's signature verification in order to have results before January 6th if the Trump campaign assists financially?" The indictment reads, this was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. So advocating for an increase in signature verification on ballots is now apparently illegal in the United States. Element number 4, if we could bring that one up. Apparently so is telling the American people, voters, citizens of our great nation to call their lawmakers. That apparently is illegal now. This is what the indictment reads. On or about the 7th day of December 2020, Rudy Giuliani caused to be tweeted from the Twitter account, Rudy Giuliani, a retweet of unindicted co-conspirator Individual 8, whose identity is known to the grand jury, that stated, "Georgia Patriot call to action. Today is the day we need you to call your state Senate and House reps and ask them to sign the petition for a special session. We must have free and fair elections in Georgia, and this is our only path to ensuring every legal vote is counted." And he tagged real Donald Trump. The indictment reads, "This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy." Think about this, guys. How many times on this show have we said, call your state senator, call your representatives, call your politicians, let them know how you feel? All the time. I couldn't even count how many times we've done that. This is the way that we petition our government for a redress of grievances. This is the way that we, as the represented, make sure that our representatives are representing us. But apparently it is now illegal in the United States of America. And then, of course, quoting the Constitution seems to be illegal, according to Fulton County, Georgia prosecutor. We're going to talk about that one in just a second. But first, I want to talk to you about Cozy Earth. You guys know that I love my Cozy Earth sheets. I have them on my bed at my house right now. I love them, and I know you will too, because summer used to mean I was kicking off the sheets every night just to try to stay cool. But that all changed when I discovered Cozy Earth bedding. I now sleep comfortably, even on hot, sticky nights, and you can too. Simply swap out your current sheets for soft, breathable, temperature-regulating sheets. If you don't agree that you're sleeping cooler and more comfortably this summer, they'll refund your purchase price plus shipping, no questions asked. And you get 100 nights to try them out, so it's not like you have to decide right away. 100 nights. How can Cozy Earth make such a guarantee? They are that confident in their product. For a limited time, you can save up to 40% on Cozy Earth. Go to CozyEarth.com, enter my promo code, Liz40 at checkout, and you can save up to 40% right now. Try them for 100 nights. If you don't sleep cooler, send them back for a full refund. That's CozyEarth.com, promo code Liz40. CozyEarth.com, promo code Liz40. I, myself, have color white because it goes with the motif of my bedroom, but you can pick from a whole variety of colors at CozyEarth.com, promo code Liz40. Okay, apparently quoting the Constitution, this is element number 5, is also illegal, according to the prosecutor, Fannie Willis, in Fulton County, Georgia. On or about the 5th day of January 2021, Donald John Trump caused to be tweeted from the Twitter account, Real Donald Trump, quote, "The vice president has the power to reject fraudulently chosen electors," end quote. According to the indictment, this was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Floating an idea about how the Constitution could possibly be used is a crime. On or about the 11th day of December 2020, David Schaefer reserved room 216 at the Georgia State Capitol in Fulton County, Georgia, for the December 14th, 2020 meeting of Trump presidential elector nominees in Fulton County, Georgia. This was an overt act of furtherance of the conspiracy. So renting rooms, you're apparently not allowed to do either. Renting rooms. Think about that. Renting a room. You are also not allowed to ask for phone numbers. This is element number 7. If you ask for phone numbers of elected representatives, this is prohibited, according to the Fulton County, Georgia prosecutor. This is what the indictment reads. On or about the 21st day of November 2020, Mark Meadows sent a text message to the United States Representative Scott Perry from Pennsylvania and stated, quote, "Can you send me the number for the speaker and leader of the Pennsylvania legislature? POTUS wants to chat with them," end quote. This is what the indictment reads. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Asking for the phone number of a representative. And then, of course, we get to the real reason for this indictment. This is element number 8. If we could bring this up on the screen. President Trump's speech. The indictment reads, on or about the 4th day of November 2020, Donald John Trump made a nationally televised speech falsely declaring victory in the 2020 presidential election. Approximately 4 days earlier, on or about October 31st, 2020, Donald John Trump discussed a draft speech with an unindicted co-conspirator, individual number 1, whose identity is known to the grand jury, that falsely declared victory and falsely claimed voter fraud. The speech was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. His speech, his opinion, his observation that fishy things happened in the 2020 election now constitute a conspiracy charge. You see why this hits differently. It probably hit differently for you too, because it's not just about Trump. First, they come for Trump. Then they come for the people associated with Trump. Then they're going to come for conservatives dissenting. That means you and I are going to be on the chopping block next. Our free speech is on the line. Harmeet Dillon posted on X, Harmeet Dillon posted on X, this is element number 10, about those who were giving Trump legal advice, regardless of whether you agree with the legal advice. This is what she said. Giving legal advice, even theoretically bad or wrong legal advice, should never be criminalized in this country. The fact that lawyers are scared to even say this today is a testament to the chilling effect of the politicized indictments and bar witch hunts of recent years. That's exactly right. There's a reason why a president is supposed to have executive privilege. It's so he can discuss good ideas and bad ideas with his advisor. If he's not able to discuss bad ideas with his advisors, then he risks actually propagating bad ideas if simply discussing a bad idea is a crime. And that's even, I guess, accepting for the sake of the argument, the premise that what he was discussing or the advice that he was being given was bad advice. It doesn't matter. Sean Davis of The Federalist compared this very apropos, what's happening to Trump, to what's not happening to Hunter Biden. This is element 11. Sean says, understand where we are. They inked a secret deal with Joe Biden's bagman's son to keep him out of prison for money laundering, bribery, tax evasion, and influence peddling. And they're criminally charging Trump for tweeting at people to turn on the TV. Because, of course, turning on the TV is also part of this indictment. It says, on or about the 3rd day of December 2020, Donald John Trump caused to be tweeted from the Twitter account Real Donald Trump, quote, Georgia hearings now on OANN, amazing, end quote. The indictment reads, this was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Can you imagine? Telling people to turn on their TVs and watch a government proceeding is now an act of conspiracy. Meanwhile, the prosecutor, Fani Willis, is refusing to say whether she has been in communication or is colluding with special counsel Jack Smith. Republicans in Congress, you can tweet about this all you want, but there are acts that you can actually take that would make a difference here. You can subpoena Fani Willis and the communications between Fani Willis and Jack Smith, between Fani Willis and the Department of Justice, and find out between Fani Willis and the Biden administration even, and find out what that collusion has been. Because make no mistake, there is collusion here. There's also things that Republicans at the local level can do here. Republican district attorneys can play by the same rules that the Democrats apparently are saying it's totally fine to use. And that is Republican DAs can indict Democrats who have committed crimes. Democrats like Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. Democrats like James Comey and Jim Clapper. Democrats like Hillary Clinton. All of these, think about in 2016, the chants at the Trump rallies were lock her up about Hillary Clinton. But what happened when Trump got in office? Nothing, because we didn't want to make the appearance of targeting a political enemy. Well, if the Democrats are going to do it, Republican DAs ought to do it too. Give Democrats a little taste of their own medicine, make them a little less bold in weaponizing the power of government to target Republicans. And in this case, Republicans are completely morally fine doing this because the Democrats have actually committed crimes that they deserve to be indicted for. Vivek Ramaswamy had a very good response to this indictment of President Trump. This is element number 14. If we could bring this on the screen. He wrote, here we go again, another disastrous Trump indictment. It's downright pathetic that Fulton County publicly posted the indictment on its website even before the grand jury had finished convening. Since the 4 prosecutions against Trump are using novel and untested legal theories, it's fair game for him to do the same in defense. Immediately file a motion to dismiss for a constitutional due process violation for publicly issuing an indictment before the grand jury had actually signed one. He should make a strong argument on these grounds, and it would send a powerful message to the ever-expansive prosecutorial police state. As someone who's running for president against Trump, I'd volunteer to write the brief to the court myself. Prosecutors should not be deciding U.S. presidential elections. And if they're so overzealous that they commit constitutional violations, then the cases should be thrown out and they should be held accountable. Vivek is 100% correct. 100% correct. In fact, his response is better than the response that we heard from Ron DeSantis, which I'm going to show you in just a second. But first, I want to talk to you about Delta Rescue. This organization means a lot, Delta Rescue. This organization is on a lifelong mission of caring for animals saved from the wild, animals from dogs to cats, even horses. Delta Rescue is the largest care for life animal sanctuary in the world. It's quite sad. I think we can all agree, this is not even a political thing, that some pups are forgotten and left in the wilderness. But these abandoned pups are special too. And Delta Rescue is providing the sort of love and care for these animals who need it the most. This is not an ordinary shelter. Again, this is a care for life, no kill. It's a super sanctuary for their rescued animals to play and love and eat and heal and be happy. Now, here's how you can help. Because Delta Rescue relies solely on the contributions from people like us to care for their 1,500 animals. No contribution is too small. Every dollar helps and goes directly to their animals. They also send out monthly newsletters that include heartwarming stories. I encourage you to take some time, visit deltarescue.org. They can answer all of your questions and are happy to speak with other Good Samaritans. This is not something that you will regret doing. Again, that's deltarescue.org, deltarescue.org. So DeSantis responded to the Trump indictments, and I wasn't super impressed with his response, which we're going to break down right now. Let's bring this up on the screen. This is his response.
So I haven't had a chance to read it all, but I will tell you is Atlanta has huge problems with crime right now. And there has been an approach to crime which has been less than exacting. I think there have been criminals that have let out that shouldn't have been let out. And so they're now doing an inordinate amount of resources to try to shoehorn this contest over the 2020 election into a RICO statute, which was really designed to be able to go after organized crime, not necessarily to go after political activity. And so I think it's an example of this criminalization of politics. I don't think that this is something that's good for the country. But I think a lot of Republican voters are looking at some of the things that have happened, whether it's the Department of Justice, whether it is some of the things that have happened local. And I think the question is, okay, what are we going to do about it? And I've already said, as president, we are going to end the weaponization of federal agencies like the DOJ and FBI. We'll have a new director. We will have new leadership in the DOJ. We're going to make sure that there's a single standard of justice in this country. Now, in terms of some of these local DAs, in Florida, we've actually suspended two, one in Tampa, one in Orlando, over the last year for failure to follow their duties and responsibilities. And as president, we will lean in against some of these local prosecutors if they are not following the law or if they are abandoning their duty to enforce the law evenly. So I think that I don't know how it's going to affect anything politically. For me, at the end of the day, it's about, let's get this country in a good direction. We need to have confidence in our justice system again. But before we get there, we need major accountability.
What I need Savage DeSantis to show up in a moment like this. This is completely notwithstanding the fact that he's competing against President Trump for the Republican presidential nomination right now. You didn't have time to read the indictment. This indictment is one of the most significant political developments that I can remember. It's not just about Trump. It's not just about putting Trump in jail. It's not just about preventing Trump from being president. All of that is bad enough. This is something that could impact us. I mean, how difficult is it to come out and say this is a tyrannical abuse of power? And not just, we're going to stop the weaponization of the federal government. What does that mean? Are you going to abolish the FBI? Are you going to abolish the Department of Homeland Security? Are you going to raise the organizations that have violated the constitutional rights of American citizens? Because a new director at the FBI is not enough. And then at the end, I don't know how this is going to impact me. Let me tell you, this is going to impact all of us. All of us. It's not just President Trump. It's not just the people who were supporters of President Trump. Every conservative will be impacted by this indictment if we allow it to happen. If we just say, well, let justice take its course. If we, as Republican representatives, as Republican DAs, as state legislatures, don't take action to stop the Democrats, it will impact every single one of us. And by the way, it's worth noting that you can criticize President Trump's accusations of voter fraud all you want. I think at the very beginning, after 2020, none of us were sure exactly where the fraud or fishy behavior or electioneering had happened. That's fine. Some of the theories that he had floated turned out not to be accurate, and he didn't know where some of the biggest fraud and biggest electioneering actually was at the time. I don't care about that. I don't care if he was right from the get-go or if it took time to uncover the conspiracy that Democrats had inflicted on our nation. But make no mistake, there was fishy behavior in Fulton County, Georgia. There was serious abnormalities, and that's putting it nicely, with ballot counting and duplicate ballots in Fulton County, Georgia. Tucker Carlson covered it back when he was on Fox. Take a listen to this.
It now appears there actually was meaningful voter fraud in Fulton County, Georgia last November. That is not a conspiracy theory. It's true. From the beginning, this show has tried to be fact-based when we talk about the 2020 election results. So here's what we know tonight, factually. At least 36 batches of mail-in ballots from the November election were double counted in Fulton County. That's a total of more than 4,000 votes. Those numbers come from a group called Voter GA, which along with Bob Cheeley sued to get them. The final tally from the double counts we know about amounts to more than 3,300 votes for Joe Biden and 865 votes for Donald Trump. Now, before you dismiss Bob Cheeley and Voter GA as dishonest partisan actors, keep in mind that the strongly left-of-center Atlanta Journal-Constitution appears to agree with this, at least in outline. The newspaper reviewed the available digital ballot images independently and concluded that hundreds of ballots were improperly duplicated. What does that look like exactly? Well, here's what it looks like. At a press conference yesterday, a consultant with Voter GA called David Cross showed how we can be certain that votes in Fulton County were counted more than once. Watch.
Okay, we can stop it right here. This video is a lot longer. This is about a 6-minute video, and you can watch the full thing, the full report that Tucker did. We also covered this on this show at the time. But the fact of the matter is, if you have that discussion that Tucker's having, you make those allegations, what's stopping an indictment of you? What's stopping an indictment of me? What's stopping an indictment of any of our speech if speech that the left doesn't like has been labeled a crime? All right, we have one more random thing from the internet. This is a wildly viral video. You've probably seen it already. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. An Australian girl is triggered that there are so many American flags flying in America. Take a look.
I'm just gonna say it. There are too many American flags. Like, they're on houses, they're on cars, saw them on couch cushions. Like, I don't know who's making these American flags, but they'd be making a bloody fortune. And like, you're the only country that I know that does this. Like, the only time I think I've ever seen an Australian flag is like on the Harbour Bridge. Could not tell you what it looks like. Like, I know it's like blue and it's got some stars on it, but I think I could draw the American flag from memory. Like, I think I could make a bloody sculpture out of it. That's how many times I've seen it. It's enough. Let's pull back on it, okay? Let's stay humble.
And I think she unintentionally hit the nail on the head. The reason we fly the American flag is because we are proud to be American. The reason we fly the American flag is so that people know it by heart, just like she knows it by heart, so that we're not, like she is, unable to recognize the flag of our own country. Sorry, it sounds to me like Australia sucks and the United States of America has come out on top once again. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'm Liz Wheeler. This is The Liz Wheeler Show. If you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button below, and ring the bell to make sure you never miss a video.